in a Tuesday edition of East Coast Bias. And what a beautiful sight this is. The boys are back, the triple threat ready to rock, and there is a whole lot to break down. I welcome in Raheem the Dream Palmer, and it is the triumphant return after a week hiatus, after some time down in Augusta, Georgia. Joe House alongside John Jastremski. House, I'll start here, buddy. Number one, how was your voyage to the Holy Land? Number two, I'm giving you a big picture question. Now, I'm going to show my age a little bit here. So my first Masters memory is Tiger dominating the field in either 1996 or 1997. I'm probably screwing up the year. But in all of my years of watching the Masters, House, and I remember Phil in 04 and Tiger, of course, the last Masters he's won, there have been some great moments for me on Sunday. But from start to finish, and I defer to Mr. Golf on this, was that, in your opinion, because it was for me, the best Sunday wire to wire you've ever watched down at Augusta?
So, JJ, it's an awesome question, and it really tells the story of how impressive that Sunday was for all of us. I think the whole world was watching. I know people from all walks of life, for me on my phone, email, everything, every which way people could get in contact, they were, are you watching this? Can Rory do it? And he took us on the entire roller coaster ride. It felt like a true marathon from, the minute that he set foot on the first tee all the way and through the final putt going in at the playoff. Context-wise, there are a couple of recent vintage, and then there are some of sort of, in history that are comparable, but this certainly entered the conversation, JJ. 1997 Tiger Woods, announcing his arrival to the world. That was extraordinarily impressive. Huge viewership for that one. 2001, Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods were in the final twosome, and it was the opportunity for Tiger to win the Tiger Slam, which is he had all four majors at once by winning that Masters. 40 million viewers in 2001. Of course, 2019, Tiger, one last gasp. Yes, that was magnificent. And then backwards, everybody will point to Jack Nicklaus winning in 1986 in very unexpected fashion as an all-timer. But this Rory experience, the full roller coaster, the full Rory that we all went through on Sunday, it's certainly in that top 5, top 6, JJ.
Raheem, you would have been proud of me. I was rooting like crazy against McIlroy because I'm just not a fan. I'm a DeChambeau guy. I was rooting for DeChambeau. Now I had a ticket on DeChambeau. So full disclosure, my betting interests kind of superseded any of the narratives that were out there. And Dream, I'm telling you, I'm sitting there with 20-1 in my hand. Rory bogeys or double bogeys won. I'm like, let's go. This is in the bag. Then Bryson gains another stroke. And then I'm just like, after the 4th or 5th hole, man, I'm against the grain. Raheem, like when you have a ticket and it kind of seems like everybody is on one side of that rooting interest and I was on the other side, I felt like the bad guy. You've been in that state a lot of times with bets. Yeah, I felt like the bad guy, to be honest with you,
When you're in the sports book and you're on the sharp side, it's like, oh my God, it's the whole world is against you. I didn't get a chance to watch the Masters because I don't have the multiple TV setup in my home, like in Vegas yet. But I did see that Bryson actually was the favorite at one point yesterday.
Yes, he was after hole number 2. That is correct. And I missed the boat, unfortunately, on not getting in on Rory McIlroy at that particular point in time. Now, to be fair, House, that would have been a sort of bet if I had made it. And I knew I was dead with Bryson by like hole 11. And then I'm watching Ludwig make his move. And I watched Justin Rose come back from the dead and hit that putt on 18. I would have been sitting there saying to myself, not only am I going to lose my Bryson ticket, I got into bed with Rory, and I got to sit there and watch him melt down through the mid part of the round, rally back, look like he has it in the bag, and then miss the putt on 18. Last one, House. When he misses the putt on 18, did you think he was going to recover?
No, I immediately live bet Justin Rose to win the playoff because Justin Rose
plus 135.
I got him. Yes, he was right around plus 130 by the time I jumped in. And I will just say the experience that you described, you managed to stay away. I did not stay away. I was in the live betting market. I had multiple screens open for shopping for prices. Thank God FanDuel was always a very good price in the live betting market, but it was an expensive Sunday because of this roller coaster ride. At any point in time, you wanted to have some exposure to Ludwig Oberg. You needed some exposure to Bryson early on. You wanted to get some exposure as things shook out on Justin Rose. And I had a Rory ticket, but I think I ended up winning $100 when you put side by side all the money that I spent on the live bets. I mean, it was a sizable ticket on Rory, but goodness gracious.
There was one that I'm sick to my stomach about, House. And listen, Patrick Reed, I bet him every year at Augusta. He's good to me. Top 5, winner. Top 10, top 20, winner. That putt he missed, House. The guy would have been in the playoff if he would have made that putt. Wow. And I know he ended up pulling out. He did a lot of weird crap that probably maybe doesn't happen otherwise.
That's right.
It still makes me sick to my stomach, House. I should have been in the mix with an 80-1 going into the playoff.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. That is the name of professional golf, JJ.
I know the deal. And listen, I think these majors now coming up are going to be a ton of fun. And we have our golf expert, Raheem, with us throughout these summer months as we'll get ready for the PGA in May. We'll get ready for the U.S. Open in June, the British Open or the Open Championship, whatever the hell they call it, in July. And then in my neck of the woods in September, we may have to get House up to New York for a little Lugers and a little Ryder Cup where I can actually root against Rory and be a part of the masses rooting against Rory because everybody's going to be doing that come Ryder Cup time. So I'm glad, House, you had a great time as far as the golf is concerned. Now, gentlemen, we have a busy couple of months in front of us here because the NBA postseason marathon, it's not a sprint. Because the postseason basically goes for 2.5 months. It starts this week with the play-ins. It basically will go all the way into the early mid part of June, hopefully, when it comes to an NBA final. So I know everybody is juiced up and charged up to start breaking down what we're going to see in the play-in. And then, of course, what we're going to see Saturday, Sunday, all the games, all the spreads, all that good stuff. Raheem, this past weekend, you've been talking with me a lot over the last week about I need to see the bracket. I need to see the bracket. I need to see the bracket. Well, Raheem, for the most part, 95% of the bracket is basically complete. From a weekend perspective, the team that kind of changed the calculus the most based upon what happened in those final game or two within the regular season, like maybe it's the Clippers, maybe it's, hey, Lakers now all of a sudden got a tough draw with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like after all of the dust has settled, what result over the weekend kind of piqued your interest the most?
Well, I think you actually have to go back further than the weekend. And the result that changed everything was the Golden State Warriors losing to the San Antonio Spurs last week. Harrison Barnes gets his revenge and hits a game-winning 3. And that single result changed the course of the NBA postseason in the Western Conference because now with the Golden State Warriors losing to the Los Angeles Clippers on Sunday in a game in which I gave out on my Twitter, I said my motto, had that game as a pick'em. The market had it at Warriors -4. With the Warriors losing that game, they're now in the play-in tournament. And that changes everything because we spoke very highly on this Warriors team since they acquired Jimmy Butler. But if you have an older team and you have to go into the play-in tournament, it puts them in a bad spot. And the Warriors are 0-3 in play-in tournaments over the last couple of years. Now, they might find themselves in a good spot because if they can beat Memphis as 7-point favorites in the play-in tournament, they get to take on the Houston Rockets.
They get the Rockets. See, that's my thing, Raheem and House. Don't get me wrong, Raheem. Everything you said there about Golden State not being a good playing team, accurate, spot on. We've seen it. You want to tell me it's extra wear and tear on their bodies? Yeah, probably not a good thing for Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, what have you. But the way I kind of looked at it and thinking about this objectively, Dream, I said, okay, if they beat Memphis, living in a world where it's a big asterisk, if they beat Memphis, Am I crazy to say I don't think it phases them that much? They get the Rockets now instead of getting the Lakers.
But here's the thing. You can feel good about them in the first round, but they're still taking on a Houston Rockets team, which is, tough-minded. You got Amen Thompson, who's one of the best defensive players in the league, and they're going to have to deal with the Houston Rockets team, which is 5th in defensive rating. This is one of the best defensive-minded teams in the league. So if you're looking at round one, yes, they're going to be able to handle this Houston Rockets team, which is 23rd in half-court offense. However, in round two, you're probably looking at the Lakers or the Minnesota Timberwolves. Here's my advice. I think the bracket has broke out perfectly for the Lakers. I think you take a future on the Lakers right now to win the Western Conference.
Interesting. Now, House, with all of this shaking out, my first instinct was, okay, not as bad as it might appear on the surface for Golden State not ending up with one of those top 6, just because I think they're going to beat Memphis. I think they'll end up beating Houston, and they kind of avoid the best team that the West has to offer as long as possible in the Oklahoma City Thunder. At the same time, Raheem, I get the LeBron and Luka love. They look awesome. They've been great down the stretch. House, that series against Minnesota would scare the crap out of me if I'm the Lakers. That would scare me, man.
With good reason, because this Minnesota team is loaded. They definitely can play defense and they can definitely score the ball. The problem is they're a tiny bit schizophrenic. And I think that the game against Memphis at the end of last week was a perfect sort of microcosm of it. They will go long stretches with not very much defense. Now, I know that Memphis, is sort of sorting out who they are. And, look, the most desirable team in the Western Conference playoffs will be the Memphis Grizzlies. I expect them to go ahead and win the game that will get them the 8th seed. And then that Oklahoma City series will be over with all due haste. But the second best team matchup wise for Golden State is definitely Houston. But on the Minnesota point, Minnesota is going to give the Lakers trouble because they have the bodies, they have an extraordinary coach. The matchups will be good. The thing is, the Lakers have Luka, and Luka is a Minnesota killer.
He killed them last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's it.
Excellent point.
So that's why Dream says what he says. You got to get a future on LA right now, the Lakers, because you're going to be in a tremendous hedge position. It's really laid out nicely for them to go ahead and handle their business against Minnesota and then grab that winner of that Houston Golden State series and then be in the Western Conference Finals.
Raheem, did this work out well for Oklahoma City from a standpoint? Because if Golden State beats Memphis, you just look at the way their side kind of works itself out. No Warriors, no Lakers, no Timberwolves until the conference finals. And if Oklahoma City does what they expect to do in the 1-8, they'd get either Denver or they would get Clippers. Now, I know this Clipper team, hey, they're spunky, they're well coached, they're tough. Kawhi Leonard has a great resume. James Harden in the postseason does not have a particularly great resume. But I'm Oklahoma City, Raheem. I'm kind of sitting there saying to myself, you know what? No Lakers, no Warriors, no Timberwolves. I'm okay with this until the conference finals. I'm good.
Yeah, it almost feels like they got to buy to the Western Conference Finals. I know the Clippers have been playing really well. And, there's some people who argue that the Clippers are right now the second best team in the West. But when you have to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder, who they have the best point differential in NBA history, it just feels like the Thunder just avoided all of their toughest teams. Like I felt like Minnesota would have pushed.
Oh, it would have been a nightmare for them, Raheem. Totally agree.
I felt like the Lakers would have pushed them. I feel like everybody who would have pushed them is on the other side of the bracket. So I think the Thunder are in great position to go to the Western Conference Finals.
And the thing is, this Denver Clippers matchup could be a war. Like one of the very best bets on FanDuel will be, for me, over 6 games in that series, because I just think that one, and you're always gambling when it's the Clippers on Kawhi Leonard's health. Will that man be upright? You expect him to get through the first series. We'll just knock on wood with both hands right now. But second round series, who knows what the hell kind of condition that man will be in. So if the Clippers survive Denver, and the Denver really got to great draw. Out of all the teams for Denver, the Clippers are a good one because the defensive lapses that Denver has suffered have come against teams that have guards that can go right by them. And Denver's not, I mean, the Clippers are not that team. James Harden is not that guy. Now, the Clippers certainly can score a variety of ways, but I think that Aaron Gordon, Kawhi matchup, that's pretty good for Denver in general. Now, Kawhi will get his because he's Kawhi, but they avoid a team with young, fast guards. I think it sets up good for Denver.
You know, the Bundo was on with us last week, House, and he tried making the case on a long shot Clipper future. There's no way I can get behind it with the uncertainty of Leonard. Just, are we going to be shocked if he plays 4 games in his Denver series and then all of a sudden you get a tweet from Shams or whoever at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Kawhi has been ruled out for game 5. Then he is ruled out for the remainder of the series. Like, there is no way in the world I'm putting my financial portfolio at risk thinking he's getting through multiple rounds. I can't do it.
Here's the future ticket I want. When the season is over and the win totals come out at the very beginning, I'm going to invest heavily in the Clippers because I think they're going to be awesome when Zion plays for the LA Clippers next season.
Oh, you got Zion going.
Really?
Is he going to be hitting the treadmill in Los Angeles, House?
Hey.
I mean, he won't be eating po' boys and he won't be eating fried oysters.
And after the 3 of us spent time in New Orleans, we understand why you can get addicted to that fried food very quickly.
Zion with Coach Lou, and there's a Van Gundy relationship there. Keep your eye on Zion coming up this summer, fellas.
I kind of disagree with House on this Nugget series. Like, and it's unfortunate because, I mean, right now on FanDuel Sportsbook, this line's gotten bet down. Like, the Clippers actually opened at plus 160. I actually feel like
Raheem, it's moved so much. It's minus 120, 102. My goodness.
Minus one. Wow.
Denver down to minus 120. I'm with you, Raheem. Despite my concerns long-term in the postseason for the Clippers. And they're not getting to an NBA final because they don't have the bodies to do it, and I don't trust Leonard. I would have been over plus 160. I'm mad I missed that number, Dream.
It was only in the market for 10 minutes, Dream. I got the don't sleep. I got the Clippers. I bought the Clippers series price, but I was only in the 130 range on the FanDuel Sportsbook, like 125 plus 125, 130. I'll have to open up the ticket to look at it.
There's still some plus 120s in the market right now, but FanDuel has plus 102 on the Clippers. And me personally, I feel like this is a 50-50 series. And I think the Nuggets, I mean, they still have some issues with their depth, and I think that's going to be a concern. But the Nuggets do have home court, and they do have the better offense. So I think at this number now, it's probably Nuggets or pass at minus 120. But I really like the Clippers. I mean, if you could get the Clippers at plus 120, 125, 130, I think you're in a good spot. But I think, you know, the Clippers right now are playing some of the best basketball in the West. I mean, you're talking about a top 5 offense, top 5 defense. So I would like to jump on the Clippers at, you know, plus 120, plus 130. But right now, at the current number, you can't take the Clippers.
Well, you know what you root for? You almost root for Jokic to go and have one of those crazy triple doubles in game 1. Let Denver go and win game 1, and then we can hop back on at a much better price with the Clippers. But I know I'm putting a lot of variables in the air, and you don't know what a game
Here's
one
the funny
looks
thing.
like.
We talk a lot about Kawhi Leonard and his injury history. How can we trust Jamal Murray at this point in time?
I'm not in on Nuggets, to be fair, Raheem. I'm not. I just think it's a different conversation talking about the Clippers winning this series and the idea of the Clippers and just the overall totality of their team withstanding the marathon that is the rest of the NBA postseason, if that makes sense.
I agree with you 100%.
We got a lot more coming your way. We touched on one of the initial series prices. Now, we got a late night text from Raheem. I was up because I'm watching my shows. I'm watching Simmons' Celtic documentary. Don't ask why. I actually really enjoyed it. It's educative. I don't like the Celtics. That's why, House. But it's been educational.
It's the history of the NBA. It's amazing.
That's what I've loved so much about it. It's not even the modern day stuff. It's the Bob Cousy's, the Dave Cowens, the history of Boston. Like I'm eating this stuff up. But this is what I've been doing late night. So I get a text from Raheem. His model for series prices is a little off what our friends at FanDuel may have on a couple of these particular series. I have not gotten Raheem's thoughts on this. I should save it for the pod. that's exactly what you're going to do. So we'll get some initial takes on the early reads for the East and the West, the series prices that are up. East Coast Bias, boys are back. We're coming right back. Okay, Dream. Now, you mentioned to me in text, to House in text, to all of us in text, that your model has a couple of these prices off from what our friends at FanDuel have. Now, we're not going to do the Denver and the Clippers series because we just discussed it. We spent a bunch of time.
My model was off on that one too, and now it's corrected.
So, all right, Lakers, Timberwolves. Right now, FanDuel has the Lakers a little under 2-1 to win that series. They're at minus 180. Minnesota is at plus 152. Are we within the ballpark on that series, or is that one totally off?
I actually have this closer to a pick 'em. And I really do. And here's the thing. My basketball mind says that the Lakers are going to win this series. I mean, obviously, we saw what Luka Doncic has done to this Minnesota Timberwolves team. Look, last year in the postseason, 33, almost 10 rebounds, almost 9 assists. So I just don't think the Wolves are going to have an answer for the Lakers offense. But I think this could be a long series potentially because the Wolves, I mean, they're so much bigger than the Lakers. Now, obviously, Rudy Gobert is going to have some trouble guarding on the perimeter, but my model has this closer to a pick'em. And if you're looking at, minus 180, you're saying the Lakers have a 64% chance of winning this series. I just don't know if that's the case. Me personally, I think the price is too steep on the Lakers, but I don't want the Wolves. The way I'm approaching this, I'm taking Minnesota Lakers over 5.5 games.
Oh, I love that. I can't see a short series here, Raheem. I'm right there with you. I haven't made that bet. I'm going to make that bet as soon as we finish up this show. I love that. I love it.
I think that's the way to approach this. I think, the Lakers probably win this in 6, but I think the Wolves with Anthony Edwards, they're way too good to lose this in 5 or less. So that's how.
Well, here's my thing, House. To me, this series price is a full-fledged Laker tax. We talk about how certain teams you got to pay a premium for. Kansas City Chiefs, the hat I'm wearing on my head with the New York Yankees, the Dallas Cowboys, those Duke, those like brand name teams. The Lakers are clearly one of them. They have 2 mega stars. I think Raheem's model is closer to what this should be. I think minus 180 is full-fledged. We got to tax the Lakers. That's the way I read it.
I think you're 100% right. I am not going to torture all the good listeners out there, but I am fascinated by Raheem's model, and I don't want him to have to reveal how the sausage is made. But the hard thing with handicapping this one, and I'm this is the fascinating part for me. The question I'll put to Dream is how do you capture the sample size? Because with Luka, this Lakers team is so different. It's like a brand new basketball team that showed up in mid-February, and we've seen combinations of lineups, but your LeBron missed a couple weeks. Luka, his own self, is in and out in terms of he's still working his way into shape. Like, how do you factor all that stuff in when you're sitting down and trying to measure it against a Minnesota team that for the most part has been healthy? Now, Randall missed a chunk of time, but we have, I think, a reasonable sample size in terms of what Minnesota looks like. It's why I'm in violent agreement with both of you guys. The price is right. It's a fair price for the series total. Over 5.5 is minus 154. But capturing, we just don't have any precedent to point to where one of the 3 best players in the effing NBA goes to another team and they get to start their season fresh. They have a brand new season with Luka, the Lakers Dream.
So here's the interesting thing. So I have a full season model, which is weighted towards more recent data, but I also have a model using post All-Star break numbers. So post All-Star break numbers, they include Luka. And then my model is at the team level. So it's just all team stuff. So if somebody's out, I have to make a manual adjustment. But if you're looking at since the All-Star break, the Lakers are 18-12 with a net rating of plus 2.1. Since the All-Star break, the Wolves are 18-8 with a net rating of plus 8.3. So it's kind of capturing, just how close these teams are, just based on the post All-Star break number. I pretty much have this at a pick'em. So, but I do think there's another gear that the Lakers have. And I just think, matchup wise, I think the Wolves are going to struggle to stop the Lakers. And then obviously you can't really take anything from the games in which the Lakers played the Wolves this season because Luka wasn't on the team and they were all earlier this year. But I have those post All-Star break numbers. Let me give you a good example of, my post All-Star break numbers. So the Warriors take on the Grizzlies in the play-in game. My full season number for that game is Warriors -2. If I use my post All-Star break number, I have it 9.8.
Wow. Okay.
So a lot of times I'll average those numbers together. And obviously, if you put 9.8 and 2 together, you're pretty close to where the market has it at -7.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll get to that Warrior-Grizzly playing game momentarily. I want to hit on two of these that we already have on record, though, Raheem. We'll circle back to the playing games. Knicks-Pistons. House, Pistons beating the Knicks 3 out of 4 games in a regular season. They've had a Cade Cunningham problem. However, if you're going to compare rosters, the Knicks roster is significantly better than Detroit's roster. It's not even close. I mean, Detroit is basically relying on guys like Tobias Harris and Tim Hardaway Jr. to go and knock down shots. You want to tell me, hey, when did Detroit play the Knicks in those regular season matchups? Like, there's a lot of stuff you have to factor in before you're just saying, oh, Detroit beat them 3 out of 4. This price at -390 for the Knicks is out of whack. So, Raheem, I thought it was a little high. I thought it would be in the 250, 260 range. That was my gut, like about a week ago. It opened even higher than this. It opened at around 420 for the Knicks. It's at 390 on FanDuel Sportsbook. Where do you have it?
Whew. So this one it's very interesting to me. I have this way closer. In game 1, I actually have the Knicks as only 2-point favorites. The market has it at 7. So, at 390, you're saying the Knicks have a 79% chance of winning this series. And my model is just not saying that. I think even for game 1, I think Kenneth Massey has a model. He used to do the BCS. He has that number at 3.5. So I think from a price standpoint, this number is wrong. But I think, JJ, you hit the nail on the head. The Knicks have the better roster. And one of the interesting things is that even though the Knicks, they're 1-3 against the Pistons this year, the starters have won all of their minutes. And we all know in the NBA postseason, starters play more minutes. So you're not
going to have those guys playing the entire game, baby. You know it and I know it. You'll see a little Deuce McBride. You'll see a little Mitchell Robinson. But that is going to be a full-fledged, hey, Brunson, Hart, Anunoby, be ready to go.
So the problem I'm having with this is because my model has one thing. The market is completely different. And from a power rating perspective, I just don't think that's the right number. But I do think the Knicks are better. But here's the major issue I have. What is Jalen Brunson at this point in time? Because if you look at him, the first 61 games of this season, he's played tremendous. But he's come back and he seems a little rusty. He's played 4 games since he's come back. He's 27 of 62 from the field, 43% from the field. He's 12 of 32 from behind the arc. That's about 37%. He's way down from his season averages. They just played, 3 clutch games against the Celtics, the Pistons, and the Cavs. If you look at Brunson earlier this year, he's probably closing out and winning 1 or 2 of those games. They didn't win any of those games. So I don't know if Brunson is the same guy or he's in rhythm right now. So I think that concerns me for game 1. JJ, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the fact, House, that Jalen Brunson was able to play the final week of the regular season is so important for him. So important. I had some people in my life texted me yesterday. They played a completely meaningless game against the Brooklyn Nets. Meant absolutely nothing. They were locked into the 3 seed, and he still was out there for 30 minutes. One of my buddies like, why is he playing? I go, because he needs to work. The guy has not played basketball for a month. I think, House, him having that week to get the body right, to get in the games, you have the competition of the Celtic game, you play a close game down a stretch against Cleveland. I think it'll be a good thing. My concern for the Knicks is how they're going to guard Cunningham in this series. That, to me, if they can figure out some sort of answer with that, I think they're going to make quick work of the Pistons. Let's put it this way, House. I'm going to be surprised if this series goes 7 games. I'm betting the Knicks -1.5 games, and I feel good about it at -160, though.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that price a lot. I already looked a little bit at under 5.5 games for the series. That would be a Knicks winning this series 4-1. I think that's kind of in the cards as a potential thing. That's plus money, plus 104 in the FanDuel Sportsbook right now. I might be, believing a little bit of this Knicks favoritism with the idea that Tibbs and this coaching staff is going to be able to scheme Cade Cunningham in a way defensively that's going to be different than the way they played him in the regular season. But I believe it. And I think that once you take Cade out, then that's it. It just tilts the floor because of the depth of the New York Knicks bench, because of their versatility, their ability to score a bunch of ways. The interesting thing to me in the first game is the total. I want to see if Detroit comes out and tries to dirty this thing up a little bit. Do they come out and try and strong arm? Do they show up?
That's their recipe to being competitive in the series.
I agree. So there's a tiny inclination for me to maybe get on the under a little bit. Also, part of that would be, Detroit in these bright lights in Madison Square Garden, with a Saturday 6:00 prime time kind of game.
A very liquored up Madison Square Garden, might I add, for a 6:00 Saturday night. My goodness. And it's going to be 75 degrees in New York City on Saturday. So
everybody's going to be having a day.
The bars are going to be boom, 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 and then everybody flooding in about 7 deep going in and watching that game. So buckle up, Detroit. It's going to be rowdy.
It's going to be great.
So you guys are on the Knicks heavy.
I'd be stunned if they lose this series. Let's put it this way. Raheem, if they lose this series, we're talking about catastrophic change for the organization. It's one of those, if they lose this series to a novice, inexperienced Detroit team, I think you're talking about the future of the head coach. I think you're talking about a future of one of their two big players. Not Brunson. He's not going anywhere. And Townsend not going anywhere with his contract. But they will make significant change to this team if they're going to lose to Detroit in the first round. I can't see it.
So I'm not going to go as far and say that the Knicks are going to lose this series. But I do think this series is going to be a coming out party for Cade Cunningham.
Okay.
I like the Pistons in game 1 with the 7.
That's a lot of points. I'm not going to fight you off of that. 7 points, a lot of points in a game 1. I get it.
But I think Cade Cunningham is I don't think they're going to have an answer for him. And I also think Asar Thompson, he's going to have moments to where he's going to force Jalen Brunson to struggle.
That's the recipe. Physicality. Can Detroit do it? We got one more series to hit on before we get to these playing games. Dream, 4-5 in the East. Indiana Pacers. I've proclaimed on this pod multiple times, I am going to be betting the Indiana Pacers in round 1 of the postseason. Well, I'm not happy about the fact that I have really missed the boat because this line for the series was in the 150s when it opened up. It is now close to 2-1. Final model check. Is this where you have it?
Yeah, I'm pretty close on this one. But I got to be honest with you. I think the Bucks are live. I think the Bucks are very live. And I didn't think I was going to think this, but, I watched the Bucks over the last week. And Giannis Antetokounmpo has just been playing out of his mind. And I also think Doc Rivers, and, we talk a lot of craziness about Doc Rivers and how, he's slipped up and blew 3-1 leads. But when the chips are down and he's undermanned, he's able to find solutions. And he stumbled upon something with this Giannis, Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, Gary Trent, and Portis lineup. And Kevin Porter Jr. has played the best basketball of his career. He's playing winning basketball. And I think this Indiana Pacers team, they don't have the same offense that they had last year. They just aren't completely unstoppable. So I think the Bucks are absolutely live in this series. And I think I'm not necessarily going to take the Bucks, but I think this could be a long series.
I agree wholeheartedly. The two bets that I made series-wise, as soon as the book opened, and I didn't get the very best price because I was watching the Masters. Rory McIlroy was too busy ripping my heart out and then putting him back into my body. I bet the Bucks for the series, and I bet the Clippers for the series.
Wow,
and
you're on Milwaukee. Interesting.
Well,
okay.
It's what your dream just described, and you have to remember when the old guy comes into the room, the old guy wants to see who's the best player, which team has the best player. So, that's just one of the old adages. Me and the Podfather, we've been doing this for a long time. We sit down, the very first, sort of prism through which we look at these matchups, which team has the best player. Okay, what are the reasons why the team with the best player won't win the series? And then you sort of take it from there. But Dream put us on this lineup of death that Milwaukee has stumbled across, and it really is the perfect kind of lineup to accentuate what Giannis brings to the table. So if Milwaukee is sort of firing quietly on all cylinders at exactly the right time, the return of Bobby Portis from his suspension couldn't have come at a better time. And that man is fresh, and he provides a level of physicality. There's a rebounding advantage that I think that Milwaukee could have. So you put three shooters out there. Taurean Prince is shooting great. You put three shooters out there around my guy, the Freak, and then let him cook, and you've got a rebounding kind of presence there. I like the idea of Milwaukee. Now the series, we'll see. We'll see how these games play out. We'll see what the cadence becomes. But I just like the idea of Milwaukee coming out of the gates.
Interesting. I like it. We have some nice initial early series thoughts, and we'll have our full-fledged official picks when we do our pod Thursday morning right here on FanDuel TV. Guys, when we come back, we got playing games to discuss. The Tuesday games, a little bit more interesting than the Wednesday games, but we got to find winners. We'll try to do that right after this. All right, let's dive right into these playing games. I'll start with the more juicy one, Raheem. Memphis, Golden State. Here's my read on the game. 7 is, I think, a little too steep. It's a little too steep. I think Golden State's going to win the game. I think they're going to find a way to win the game. I just don't love the idea of laying this amount of points just with what I've seen from Golden State over the final week of the year. Maybe that's a mistake on my part. Maybe I'm reading too much into their end of the regular season. I just kind of get the sense this game is not going to be a walk in the park for them. I think they win. I think they find a way. I just think 7 is too steep.
All right, so this is tough for me because, as I said earlier, my full season number puts the Warriors at -2. My post All-Star break number puts the Warriors at -9.8. So I think we're right around the market where it is right now. So I think this number's kind of dead on. But like you said, the Warriors haven't played good basketball over the last week. But I also think if you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, they're missing one of their best perimeter defenders in Jalen Wells. And I think that's going to be a huge loss for them. And then Jaren Jackson Jr., he can't stay out of foul trouble. So it's very difficult for me to trust this Grizzlies team full game against this Warriors team right now. And there's also another element. Jimmy Butler got banged up at the end of that Clippers-Warriors game. So what is his status? Like, how is he going to look? So I think there's a lot of things that you kind of have to think about before you approach this one. But so I'm not going to have anything on this game because I just think the number is dead on. But I do think if the Grizzlies are going to keep it close, it's going to come in the first half.
Oh, I like that. So my instinct, JJ, you emphasize kind of what you observed out of Golden State. I'm on Memphis. And what I mean by I'm on Memphis is I've been watching them, and it is a diabolical mess. I mean, it is preposterous what this Memphis team is bringing to the floor in a whole slew of must-win games for them over the balance. This team firing its coach when it did created absolutely nothing but chaos on both sides of the floor. This Memphis team gave up 52 third quarter points at home to the Minnesota Timberwolves last week. What in the hell is going on? There is no world in which you're going to get me. The number would have to be 17. You'd have to talk me in. It would have to be double digits before you're going to talk me into doing anything with Memphis. The caution that Dream just gave us was the right one, which is you got to know what's happening with Jimmy Butler if you're going to jump in here and get something down. But I think my instinct is to just if we get confirmation that Butler's a go and that he feels good, I'm laying the number, man. It's fine. Memphis is there. Those boys are going to be looking at that 8 seed, and it will be a quick exit for them come playoff time.
out on the Grizzlies, and we'll see if the Grizzlies even find a way to win that particular game, assuming they don't take down the Warriors. Not put my money on that. Okay, fair enough. Next game. House, Atlanta and Orlando. Not going to be a game that's easy on the eyes, that's for sure. That's an understatement. You know what my initial read was, and I'm sticking with it? I'm taking Atlanta plus the points. I think I'm taking Atlanta on the money line. They've been in this play-in so many times. Trae Young has been in this play-in so many times. I like their coach. I think they can channel back maybe some of the stuff we saw early in the year when they had some success. I don't love either one of these teams, full disclosure. I think both of these teams will get absolutely waxed by Cleveland and by Boston, respectively. But I'm going to say that Atlanta, who's had a knack for playing well in this play-in, is going to do it again. I'm grabbing a 5 here, House.
Yeah, I kind of like your lean on this. Like that feels like too many points. The problem is the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde performance by this Orlando team on offense. What offense is going to show up? Are they going to make some threes? If I had any idea whatsoever, then maybe it would be actionable for me. Which version of Paolo are we going to get? Which version of Franz? I don't know. I have no idea. I do like, though, the point you're making. It's Trae, and Trae likes the stage. He likes to go perform, in these kind of moments. So I like the idea that maybe 5 is too many points. It should be competitive. These teams know each other extremely well. They just played twice in the last 2 weeks. So I guess if I had to play something, it would be in the direction that you're leaning, JJ.
I'm kind of going to go opposite you guys. I think this is a magic spot to me. Obviously, they played twice in the last week or so. The first game in which both teams were trying, the Magic won 119 to 112. I think these teams are polar opposite from one another. So basically, you're looking at a Magic team that is 20th in offensive rating, 114 points per 100 possessions, second in defensive rating. But then you're looking at a Hawks team, which is 6th in offensive rating and 20th in defensive rating. So if you ask me what the best unit on the floor is, it's by far the Magic defense. And I think, if you go back to that April 8th game in which they won 119, 112, they forced 20 turnovers. And, granted, the Hawks only shot 34% from 3 and the Magic shot, they shot pretty well from 3. What did the Magic shoot? 41%. I still just trust the Magic offense. So, right now, this line is at 5.5. If this goes to 5 and below, I want the Magic. But I'm also looking at the total. I think they're making us play like a playoff premium to back and under here. You're talking 216 with this Hawks defense. I think that's just way too low for a defense as bad as the Atlanta Hawks. And then one thing you also have to consider is that, in these play-in games, these teams aren't going to be giving up. So you're going to see a lot of fouls at the end. So I think this is an over. I think 216, you're getting a little bit of a bargain here. So I would go over here, even with the Orlando Magic offense. But I think the Magic ultimately win this game. And actually, FanDuel just went to 5. So maybe you guys are on the sharp side, but I think I'm getting a bargain with the Orlando Magic.
We'll come back. We'll try to figure out of the games on Wednesday which one we'd rather bet. That's coming up. All right, we got 2 games on Wednesday. Chicago, small favorite against Miami. Sacramento, a 5-point favorite against Dallas. Out of these 2 grotesque games, Raheem, which one do you have more incentive to get involved with?
Oh, I hate both of these games so much. I probably would just go with the Sacramento Kings. I think the Sacramento Kings, their perimeter offense is probably going to be too much for the Dallas Mavericks. That's just kind of how I'm approaching it. I think, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's been on fire lately. And I think, those 2 guys, along with Sabonis, they should be able to carry them to a victory. So that's how I'm approaching. I think the other game is tough just because, you're betting on Miami Heat experience and, their coaching staff versus a Bulls team, which is playing better basketball.
Yeah, I totally agree with Dream. And really, my motivation for this is petty. I want Dallas to be out of our lives. They were lucky to get into this playoff play-in position. Let's let Sacramento go ahead and knock them out and let them figure out how to resurrect their franchise after ruining it for the next decade.
House, it's interesting. I feel It's a different vibe, obviously, with Miami. They didn't have the self-sabotage that Dallas had. I want Miami out. I'm so sick and tired of them. And I also think they're kind of sick and tired of this year. This has been a nightmarish year, from the Jimmy Butler saga to everything that Eric Spoelstra's had to deal with. You know, we talk about the pedigree, Raheem, that they normally have when they go into this thing. This is not a Miami team that exactly played distinguished basketball to get themselves in. They got in by default because nobody else wanted to make the damn play in the Eastern Conference. And I mean, Chicago's just playing better basketball. I'm going to take Chicago here to go and beat the Miami Heat. I'm taking it. I'm laying the small price. I think they're going to be a favorite side, public side. I really don't care. I think Chicago and Billy Donovan find a way over a Miami team that I think is ready for the beach and vacation.
You know what scares me about that game?
Yeah.
So the total was 219. And we know Bulls games tend to, fly over. I mean, my model has this total at like 229, 230. So it feels like they're pricing in like almost like a tough-minded grind of a game. And that almost implies that Miami is the side. Because if you're going to have a lower scoring game, who do I trust more? I trust the Miami Heat. If this total was like 225, 226, 228, I'd be all over Chicago. But the total it's telling a different story.
Interesting.
So that's what I'm struggling with.
But one thing, if this game is close, with the way Miami has yucked up these games all year, Joe House, wouldn't it be on brand for them to do it one more time in the play-in?
You know me and all of the loyal followers out there been listening, making money on this, sending me their tickets every week. Once a week, at least, Miami coughing it up. It would be a beautiful ending. And the one thing, JJ, that both Dallas and Miami have in common, interesting summer for their general managers. Let's see what happens with the GM. I don't know if we're going to see. We're going to see some things, I think, in both Dallas and Miami.
Boys, we'll come back. Best bets. Send you on your way right after this. Best bet time. House, I'll give you the floor. Since you're back, take it away.
Well, we had a nice discussion about this Knicks-Pistons matchup, and what I had in my back pocket is something that came out in the conversation. Now, I didn't want to highlight it because I wanted to save it for best bets, but I love the idea of Cade Cunningham in a coming out party. You can go into the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, look at his points, rebound, and assists at 43.5. You have to pay a little juice. It's minus 122. I am playing that. I'm also playing Cade Cunningham to record a double-double, minus 120. Just jump out and make a big statement, Cade Cunningham. Welcome to the NBA playoffs.
Dream.
All right, we're going to go Lakers-Wolves over 5.5 games. We're going to keep this thing simple. We're going to two-team parlay, Orlando Magic money line, Golden State Warriors on the money line. That pays pretty much a little bit over even money. So that's what I'm riding with for the play-ins.
Like it. I'm laying at 162. Knicks minus 1.5 games against Detroit. And I'm taking the Chicago Bulls on a money line to get it done against the Miami team ready for summer vacation. That's going to do it for this East Coast Bias. We'll be back in 48 hours. Good to have House back. Great job, Raheem.
Good to be back.
Oh, amen to that. Good job by Stefan and Tucker. JJ out. Enjoy. We'll chat in 48 hours. Be good, everybody.